Hello, and welcome to Smart Impressions. You know me, I'm Rachel, and you know what? One thing that bugs me is when people don't care about me. And I think that bugs a lot of other people too. When we're talking about customers for your business, then there's no one else that's going to give you insight than our guest today. So, welcome to the show, Farooq Malik. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon. Lovely to be here. Thank you so much, Rachel, for the warm welcome.
Absolutely. So today's show is called, data driven success. And we're going to touch upon what data does and how it gives you that success guaranteed because you are transforming your customer experience and engagement. And that's your bag. This is your expertise. So I kind of want to bring you in and just jump right into the opportunity that you bring businesses to shed the light on their customer journey. So what is that client impact specialist that you have titled yourself at All Research? What does that mean?
Well, I hope I'm delivering and living up to that proposition of being a client impact specialist. But I mean, in a very kind of basic summary, it's about really understanding from the vast array of clients that we have. You mentioned customers, but I can tell you we have clients who have citizens as their beneficiaries. So we have government entities, we have ministries, and those kind of bodies, and we have stakeholders. So we have businesses who want to understand more about the supply chain, about regulators and so on. So that's there. But yeah, the nuts and bolts of it is consumers, people who like everyday people like us who buy, consume different items, whether it's perishables, whether it's a service or an account from a bank, whether it's the mobile network for themselves or their loved ones, their children, and so on. So we basically help understand what their marketing questions are, and they may basically revolve around, as you said, customer experience, or more and more so around the brand. So what the emotion is, what the connection is that they have with those consumers, customers, citizens, and how can they leverage that to, of course, stand out more, come up with new products, better services, and to really delight us. Because when one is delighted, one talks more positively about those experiences to others in the social circle, and that helps businesses, that helps governments, ministries, municipalities, all kinds of clients to grow, whether it's revenue, whether it's in terms of market share, whether it's in terms of retention, whether it's also in terms of stopping customers from churning, because as you know now, the customer or the consumer or the citizen has more power. It used to be that we had less information, we were almost like one in amongst many. But due to technology, due to social media and the power of social media and the choice and individual kind of platform that we have now to share our experiences and our desires, we can make a huge impact. And there's so many stories of positive stories, as well as lots of stories of where customers have not been happy, whether it's with flights, whether it's with hotels, whether it's with a product that they are consuming. Sharing those experiences and those products and service providers being alarmed and taking immediate action to address those concerns, because they know that there's a huge risk that this one comment or one negative experience could have for their whole business.
Absolutely. I mean, God, I can't tell you. I hate to say the squeaking, the squeaky one makes the. I forgot the saying all the time. The squeaky one makes the wheel. The loudest one that complains, it makes the most effect and ripple effect. And if you've gotten a bad review from a customer and you're not focused on why they gave that to you or fixing it and how to deal with that customer journey, there's a lot of things that you could prevent just by making that a top priority in your business. And I can't stress it enough for any business that's listening. And I want to invite you to jump in to the conversation, ask any questions that you may be thinking about to Farooq, because he's playing in this field. And now, Farooq, I mean, the world, we're in the data-driven world right now. And so how do you even identify what parts, that you should be focusing on for understanding and better, improving that customer journey and experience?
Sure, it's a very valid question. I think the most important thing for us, because when we think of our clients, we have to think of them as customers and sit in that part. The most important thing is to really get close to them and to understand the North Star. So where is the ultimate destination that they want to get to, and then to dig deeper in terms of which part of whatever they're delivering, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, do they want to focus on? Is it in terms of onboarding? Is it in terms of continual kind of interactions, purchases, transactions, whatever you want to call them? Or is it, as I said earlier, about those who might be churning, and we need to understand the reasons why they're leaving, why they're going somewhere else, and why they're choosing to go the competitor. So we ask very simple, very broad questions when we have these discussions, and it often doesn't happen only in one conversation, and it's not only verbal. So, for example, we use our observations. Often the clients, we challenge the clients, and a lot of our clients have dedicated departments who are responsible for keeping a tab, resolving these kind of questions which require data around customer experience, around the brand, as I mentioned earlier. So they are tasked with kind of conceptualizing a brief. So they outline exactly what kind of business decisions, marketing questions, research questions that they have, who is the target audience. And as I said earlier, on that journey from onboarding all the way to retention, loyalty, and advocacy, which part of that journey do they want to talk to? Now, you're going to say to me, do clients know that all the time? And I can say to you, like, we're all human beings, and sometimes we get excited, sometimes we get anxious. So there are occasions where we have to sit down with the client and really narrow it down, because you can't do everything. You don't have infinite time, infinite resources. So that's where we get that real moment in terms of, okay, this is in the amount available with the target focus, target customers that you have in mind, and these big questions that you want to answer. And with this category content, competition, and where you're coming from and where you're going, this is what we can do in this time, in this budget. So it's often kind of not a negotiation, but it's kind of arriving at those sweet points. And it's a process. It takes a while. And I can't take an off-the-shelf recommendation that for this particular client, whether it's a small client, it's a large client, established startup, whether it's working in this particular sector or in this geography, that this is an off-the-shelf solution for you. The tools, the frameworks for measuring customer experience, platforms, we have those on our fingertips. But what we need is to really define what is it that we're asking, who are we asking for, and what is it that we want to address in terms of the next steps, the business decisions. So those are the kind of questions that we have. And this process can take an hour, it can take 2 or 3 days, or it can take, in some instances, a week or 2 weeks. But that's the most important part, to really tying down what is it that the client wants to achieve and with who.
Amazing. Well, listen, you're in the thick of it. You must see that customers' expectations are shifting and changing. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you're seeing in the market when you deal with kind of these surveys and the focus groups that you're finding this information? I mean, has it shifted from like generation to generation based on age groups? What kind of variables are we looking at when it comes to this stuff and the changing expectations?
Some demographics, as you know, especially by virtue of living in such a dynamic place as the UAE and the Middle East and GCC, especially with the amazing transformations that are happening, are going to change anyway. So we have a very transient population in the UAE. We have a very expat kind of focus, but very economically active. So it's a very unique place. In Saudi Arabia, where also a lot of our work and my peers and competitors also work in, is a big market, of course, by virtue of being a bigger country and all the great things that are happening there with the transformations. There, the demographic makeup is different. But so what we look at is there's certain constants in terms of gender, location, socioeconomic class. But what's really interesting in terms of the conversations we're having is around usership. Like, what is it about the profile of that person? What do they buy? What do they use as a service? How often? What else are they looking for? And within that, there's more attitudinal and psychographic kind of dimensions coming in terms of lifestyles, in terms of influences, in terms of benefits that they want. So it's not just your standard demographics, but what I'm really seeing now is that clients are understanding more about their customer, not just putting them in boxes where it's about age or where they live or how much money they earn, but more around what are they looking for. And to the final point in terms of what's really exciting for us and sometimes challenging, of course, is that as customers, even citizens, consumers move away from things to valuing more about experiences. And there's so much data around this. I was reading something from the US where they've done a big study in the United States where the millennials especially and the new generations, as you mentioned, they're more inclined towards having experiences. So a stellar experience is more important than owning something, like a tangible thing. So you can imagine that now clients, even in this region, are focusing on what is it that we can deliver, as well as the product, as well as service, the process of delivering, that really dials up that interaction. So we're seeing a lot more focus on those kind of softer aspects in this region, which is amazing. And this region, because I've started my career in the UK and in the Western world, I can say in the last 10 years that I've been here, uh, it's fast maturing, and it's getting inspiration from what's happened in other markets, for example, Europe and the US. But it's also adopting a hybrid outlook. So taking the richness, the diversity, the cultural nuances, the language nuances of this specific region at this specific time of immense change, and infusing that in there. So it's a really exciting time, and that's why we see such a diverse range of briefs, research questions that marketeers like me working in research agencies are addressing or trying to address on a day-to-day basis.
Amazing. I love that because there is such a fast, rapid change that's happening in the region. It's happening, throughout the Gulf, and it's really impacting the world. And I mean, we have such these global citizens, global companies, and global customers that are really have a plethora of insight to how we actually move and shake and what interest us and impact us and what trigger us on an emotional level. So there's no doubt, like, experiences make us happy, right? If we're with the people we care about. And so this is exciting to know and to see that more businesses are now interested in evolving and how they engage. So if you haven't prioritized your customer experience and you're not looking at data, I highly recommend you do. Now, Farooq, this time goes really quick and short, but I can't thank you enough for all your insight of just scratching the surface of what we could do and really how long we could talk about this topic, because I'm super passionate about it. It's about customers, so that you don't go somewhere else, because there's lots of competition, and the minute you lose them, you won't be able to get them back. So I want to resonate that thought for everyone listening right now. But before we go, Farooq, can you share 3 top of your priorities that people should, at least look at and prioritize when it comes to data and customer engagement and some of this insight?
Sure. I mean, there's lots of ideas in my head when I think about that question. But increasingly, what I notice is that when the customer, no matter how big they are or where they are in their journey of maturity, when they have employees, especially employees who are customer-facing, citizen-facing, consumer-facing, they are a gold mine. You need to empower them. You need to challenge them. And you need to use them as agents of learning about the customer and those experiences and pain points and delights. And then you also need to, kind of incentivize your sales force and anyone with, direct kind of interactions with your beneficiaries to be that fulcrum of change. So both ways, for the business and the other way. So focus on your employees, listen to them, incentivize them, keep them happy. Happy staff, as I'm sure you've heard many times on Smart Impressions podcast, your employees are an amazing asset. Keep them happy, keep them motivated, and listen to them, because they have so many tactical, real-time insights on what's happening, what the competition is doing, what they're hearing from the customers that they interact with, that they can really, really make those small changes and outline those small changes to you, which can make a huge impact. And we see this happening in banking. We see this happening a lot in hospitality, and also in airlines in this region, in the GCC region, because these 3 verticals are very important. And of course, now with government coming in and doing things, with citizens and residents, that's also an important thing. The other thing is you need to have a culture when it comes to data-driven insights to improve your customer experience. The culture comes from, of course, the top. Senior leaders, when they set the stall out, that the customer is our guru. We're going to make the customer happy. We're going to listen to them, and we're going to do proactive things to personalize our experience, to listen and to delight them, to address any concerns, and to innovate with solutions that fit their evolving lifestyles, where technology and these new kind of behaviors that we're all used to are playing. So the leadership has to be seen to drive a culture of customer experience being central to that organization. So going away from the bottom line, as you mentioned earlier, Rachel, which is so important, going beyond that, of course, looking at financials, looking at numbers, but really making customer experience part of those boardroom discussions and taking that priority outside the boardroom. So you might have noticed that, for example, in this region, a lot of the hotel brands are now empowering and challenging the GM of each hotel, luxury hotels especially, to be physically around areas where the guests are staying, and to make sure that they are there to take, observe, and address feedback as it comes, and to give that personal service, the greetings, and that delights us as customers. We notice and remember those things more than anything else. So focus on that culture and make sure that senior leadership is seen to focus on customer experience and act on customer experiences. And the third thing is celebrate. small wins, as I said earlier, small wins in delighting someone. And you said earlier as well that it's very difficult to get a positive review, whether it's verbal, written on a site, on an aggregator platform. It's very difficult. But when you have delighted a customer, and whether they review or give you feedback or not, but you really need to make a big deal of it, because that positivity, that celebration kind of has a ripple effect. It kind of makes everyone in the ecosystem realize that this is something important, no matter how small it is, even if it concerns one customer. But delighting them and celebrating that kind of puts things in motion, which then are difficult to stop. It kind of builds on from that. So these would be my 3 points: to empower, to listen, to celebrate, and of course to lead from the top and infuse that culture throughout the organization. And and anyone can do that. And perhaps it's easier for small and medium enterprises to start with those kind of aspects, because bigger companies with their hierarchies and so on might take longer or might find it a bit more difficult, and they're a bit more further away from the end beneficiary. But here, that's where small, medium, size enterprises and the new startups, that's where they're coming with their differentiated propositions.
My whole body was tingling when you were talking. I absolutely love this. I want to stress it one more time. It's about your employees. It's about your culture from leading on top. And it's about celebrating, because that energy is infectious, and customer is king. You've heard it before. I'm saying it again. Your guru, your king, your sheikh, whatever you want to call him, he should be your North Star of guiding of exactly your business profitability and bottom line. Farooq Malik, the expert in understanding your customer and listening to your customers. Thank you so much for being here and sharing this information. I love it. And I hope this is a huge reminder for everyone that has been lost in the weeds and basically, stuck in their day-to-day and forgetting about the ultimate goal and the power that each one of your employees has to really resonate and really impact that bottom line and that other person on an emotional level. So Farooq, thank you so much for being here. I'm so gracious and have so much gratitude for your expertise and insight.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for this interaction. I hope it's been helpful, and I wish everyone watching, listening, all the best in making sense of what is something very exciting, which is very important. And as you said, infectious. The energy comes from it, the celebration and the success comes from it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, that's it. I'm over and out. Get out there, talk to your customers, find out what they love, find out what they need, and keep giving more of it, because it's a constant evolution, and you got to be agile in this market. It's too competitive. Don't lose them. So make sure this is a priority for your business today. I'm going to catch you next week with another great insight for our great expertise in this region about connecting and unlocking these business relationships one connection at a time. I'll see you next week on Smart Impressions. Have a great day.